If you listened to last week's talk, you learned a bit about overthinking and what a pest it can be. Overthinking can create hell on earth by creating doom and gloom scenarios which might seem unescapable. The reality, though, is very different, and there is light at the end of the proverbial tunnel that can be overthinking. Learn about 5 ways, 5 strategies you can use to escape the overthinking trap in today's talk. Stay tuned to learn more. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Growth Philosophy Podcast, a bite-sized weekly podcast focused on empowering you to think better and upgrade your life. So let's look at the 5 strategies you can use to deal with overthinking. The first one is awareness. The second one is distraction. The third one is journaling. The fourth one is action. And the fifth one is mindfulness. So awareness, distraction, journaling, action, and mindfulness. I have an acronym for you to help you remember these. It's ADJAM. Awareness, distraction, journaling, action, and mindfulness. Let's go over them in more detail now. So the first one is awareness. Becoming aware of what is going on inside of you is the first step towards dealing with the challenge of overthinking and pretty much any other negative issue that you have going on inside you. Awareness is the first step. Oftentimes, we overthink things without actually realizing it. So when you bring your attention to the fact that you're overthinking, that awareness can generally be enough to shake your mind out and dislodge the negative thought loop. Think of becoming aware like shining a light on the dark recesses of your mind. When you shine that light, the darkness, that is overthinking, dissipates. So awareness is the first one. The second one is distraction. Distracting yourself can be a fast and effective way to switch off anything you are overthinking about. In psychology, there is a term for it. It's called pattern interrupt. The idea is that you use something, anything really, to interrupt your current thought patterns, the overthinking thought patterns. So if you find yourself falling into the trap of overthinking about something, for example, you can do something, anything, to distract yourself and divert your mind away from whatever it is that you are overthinking and ruminating about. This can be very fast and effective, and as such, this can be a great way to pretty much instantaneously switch off overthinking. How you do it isn't really that important. You can do pretty much anything that helps distract you. Maybe you can watch something, listen to something, or read something really exciting or funny. You can talk to a friend, you can go for a walk, you can go for a swim or a workout. It can be pretty much anything. Anything will do, as long as it shifts your attention and refocuses your mind from the negative thought loop that you have been playing in your head like a broken record player. So the second strategy that you can use to deal with overthinking is distraction. The third one is journaling or writing about it. Writing whatever is in your head can be a very smart idea for lots of reasons. It is not just good for keeping a record of things, but also because there is a certain clarity you can get from writing things down. The thoughts inside your head often get tangled up into a lot of other thoughts, and when you put them down on paper, they can give you a lot of clarity. This is one of the reasons why journaling or keeping a diary is heavily recommended by health professionals all over the world. And research has found that journaling has quite a few benefits. A quick Google search can tell you about the many benefits of journaling, and it is a practice I highly recommend. But for the purposes of this talk, here is what is important to understand. Writing your thoughts down can give you clarity. It also makes you aware of anything that you might be overthinking about, and gives you the opportunity to question the validity of the negative assumptions and conclusions your mind might be jumping to. This last benefit alone can be enough reason for you to make it a habit to write your thoughts down, especially if you find yourself overthinking about something. So, journaling or writing your thoughts down is the third strategy you can use to fight overthinking. The fourth one is to deal with it or take action. Our mind has a tendency to make mountains out of molehills. If you have ever found yourself doing that, don't feel bad, because it is a very normal thing. Our minds, while trying to keep us safe, can and does overestimate the risk of things, and that isn't always a great thing. This is one of the reasons why facing your fears is one of the best ways to move forward. Then there is another thing to consider: the fear of the unknown. Most people, when faced with a challenging or unpleasant situation, will put it off or bury their heads in the sand as long as possible. Consider a potential confrontation, for example. I don't think anyone in their right mind actually enjoys a confrontation. It is unpleasant and stressful, so there is really nothing to enjoy about it. That said, when a potential confrontation becomes necessary, hiding from it only magnifies the worst case scenarios in your mind. Evading the potential confrontation does not actually make it go away. The issue does not go away, it still stays there. All evading does is create a movie that plays in your mind over and over about how bad things will happen. But you know what is surprising though? The reality is rarely ever as bad as the imaginary consequences. This is why you often hear people say things like, "That wasn't as bad as I expected," after dealing with a thing that they had been avoiding or dreading. It wasn't as bad as you expected, and it rarely ever is. That's the reality of the thing. If the thing that you're dreading and overthinking about is something that you can do anything about, then the best thing to do is to deal with it. Just do what you can, deal with it, and move on. At the very least, you won't give your mind the junk food that is a potential negative outcome to create doom and gloom scenarios around. You cut off that source of junk food when you do something about it. If there is nothing to overthink about, you won't overthink. It's really as simple as that. So if you can do something to deal with it, do it. If not, however, then try the other strategies I've mentioned above, and the next one that I'll mention. So taking action is the fourth strategy that you can use. The fifth one is mindfulness, or being mindful. Jean Kabat-Zinn famously popularized the concept of mindfulness in the West, and the idea has become a trendy one of late. Very trendy. And that's a good thing, because it does have a lot of benefits. I've recently started rereading Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now, which stresses just how important it is to be present in the current moment, which is largely about being mindful. Call it being present or being mindful or whatever else you want. The end goal is the same, and that is to focus fully on right now. It's about focusing on this very moment, or focusing fully on whatever you are doing or experiencing right at that very moment. So if you're sitting at your desk listening to this, being present and mindful would be about you being totally immersed in the listening experience and how you are right now, including fully experiencing the texture of your chair, how your headphone feels on your ears, and so on. When you're being mindful and present, your focus shifts from whatever is going on in your mind to the current moment. You shift your focus from the overthinking to the current moment. That makes it a very effective antidote for overthinking, since overthinking is pretty much always about either what has happened or what will happen. Overthinking is all about past or future thinking, But mindfulness, on the other hand, is all about focusing on the present moment. When you're totally focused on the present moment, and when you're being fully present, it is impossible to overthink things, and that makes being present one of the most effective strategies for dealing with this blight of mind that is overthinking. So to summarize, here are the 5 strategies you can use to deal with overthinking: awareness, distraction, journaling, action, and mindfulness. And remember the acronym that I told you about earlier? It's ADJAM. 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 So that's awareness, distraction, journaling, action, and mindfulness. So the next time you have to deal with overthinking, try this acronym and try at least one of these strategies. Now, before we end, I have something for you to try. So the next time you start worrying about overthinking about something, focus on your breathing. Just focus on your breathing. Try this right now. So close your eyes, slow down your breathing, and take a deep breath. Make it as deep and as long as you can. Really feel the air slowly entering your nose and filling your lungs. Feel your lungs expanding and even your stomach expanding. Then hold it for a few seconds. Just hold the air you just took in, hold it for a few seconds, and then slowly let it out. Feel the air go out through your nose or mouth, and just feel the strength and the temperature of the air while it goes through your nose, and also how it feels. How do you feel now? Usually, this small exercise will help you clear your mind, and you can try this little mindfulness exercise yourself next time you find yourself overthinking. If you're not used to practicing mindfulness or meditation, this practice can seem a bit clunky at first, but it'll feel more natural the more you do it. And the more you do it, the better you will get at it, and the easier it will become for you to practice bringing your focus on the current moment and being present. Repetition is key. Try this small breathing mindfulness exercise the next time you find yourself worrying about something or overthinking about things. Try it and tell me how it worked for you. Look, overthinking can be a pest, and at times it can completely consume you and create scenarios of doom and gloom, extreme stress, and even despair. But it doesn't need to be this way. Overthinking doesn't have to automatically take over your life, especially now that you know how to counter that pattern of negative thinking. Awareness is important, and once you become aware of yourself overthinking about something, now you know what you can do to nip it in the bud. The application part is vitally important though, and I cannot stress this enough, because learning something will only help you when you actually apply what you learn. Otherwise, it just stays interesting and insightful, that information. The information only becomes truly useful when you actually apply what you learn. So I really hope you will apply what you have learned here today. At least try one of the strategies that you have learned. But here's the bottom line. Overthinking is a terrible thing. It creates hellish situations in your mind and goes on and on like a broken record player. But more often than not, the thing that you're overthinking and dreading and even running away from actually is nothing to be worried about. The reality is very different from the perception or the movie that's playing in your mind. Also, often what you're overthinking about has already happened. It's in the past, so it makes absolutely no sense in ruining your present with what has happened already. There are things you can do to overcome the negative thinking loop that overthinking creates, and you absolutely can do something to override the overthinking pattern. You now have strategies that can both work immediately as well as over the long term to fight off overthinking. Also, since you now have 5 different strategies for dealing with this mental challenge, you can apply different ones based on what the situation calls for, or even combine multiple ones. You can choose, use them as you see fit. But do use them the next time you find yourself falling into the negative thinking black hole that overthinking creates. I cannot stress this enough. You have to apply the strategies that you have learned to actually handle and deal with overthinking. So get rid of the blight of mind that is overthinking. Because when you do that and make doing that into a habit, you will find yourself with a much better quality of mind and life. So that's it for today. I hope you found this talk useful and took away at least one thing to apply in your life. As always, it has been a pleasure. Stay safe, stay healthy, and look after yourself. I'll catch you again next week. Have a great week, everyone.